Aggression is a term that's overused in sport and used in the wrong context quite a lot, so we need to know a definition of aggression. So aggression is any behaviour directed towards intentionally harming or injuring another living being. So to make up this definition of what is aggression, there are 4 criteria that it needs to satisfy. First of all, it needs to be a behaviour. So it needs to be carried out. It can't be thought. Thinking aggressive thoughts isn't being aggressive. The second thing is there needs to be some sort of harm involved or even injury. So this could be obviously physical, but it can also be psychological harm as well. Can be aggression. Third, it's directed towards a living organism, or in sporting terms, another person. So you can't be aggressive towards, by hitting the floor or whacking the net in tennis, for example. It needs to be towards the aggressive act would be towards another person. And the last one, which makes it a little bit ambiguous, is that it needs to involve intent. So you need to intend to harm the person. So any accidental harm or injury would not be an aggressive act. Now this is obviously where we get a bit of a grey area, because we're not sure, apart from the person committing the act, we're not sure as to whether they meant it or not. They could claim that they didn't mean it, which is often the case in sport. People come out afterwards and say that they didn't intend to do something that caused an injury, whereas they may actually have intended to do it. The last one that's worth knowing, which isn't necessarily always correct, which is why we've got it separately, is down here around the whether it's outside the laws of the game, because in some sports some aggression is actually allowed, which we'll come on to later. But this is something that on an exam question as to what is aggression, you can gain a mark for. So we need to know types of aggression. The first one is hostile or reactive aggression. So hostile aggression is like the worst form of aggression, the most obvious form of aggression that we would see. So this is where the primary goal is to inflict injury or harm on someone else, or the only goal really. So the only thing that you're trying to do is hurt the other person. So these are the real obvious examples. So Tyson down here, Tyson biting off Holyfield's ear at the time. There's no way he's going to win the fight from that, because he knows he will get disqualified. That would be an act of hostile aggression. So this is it's often a reaction, an angry, emotional response, or in some cases it could be pre-planned, which we'll come on to in a minute. And it would definitely be outside the rules of the game. So a pre-planned example is Roy Keane on Haaland. So this was a famous example where Keane gained revenge on Haaland for something that happened years earlier, and just went to get him with a tackle around the knee. We know that this is hostile aggression, because we know that he reveals it in his book years later, that basically, as you can see here, that he just went to get him. The second type of aggression is called instrumental. So instrumental aggression occurs in the quest of a non-aggressive goal. So here there are 2 goals. The main goal is that you want to achieve the win or the result. So in order to achieve that result, it may be that you've got to be aggressive. So, in other words, the instrumental bit comes in is because the aggression is the instrument that we use to achieve the main goal, which is to gain the result. So, this is a very grey area as to whether this is within the rules of the game sometimes as well. In lots of sports it may not be. It may not be totally obvious though in certain occasions, but in some sports it could also be actually within the rules. The key thing to remember here is that there's still intent to harm, because it is aggression. So all aggression, there is intent to harm. However, it's a slightly different mentality here. You're not just going to hurt the other person, which is what hostile aggression is. This is instrumental aggression. You're doing it for a better reason, if that's okay, if we would agree with that, is because we wanted to win the game. So some examples. So a cricket bowler might bowl bouncers at the batsman's head. They might intend to hit the batsman's head, but they know they've got a helmet on. All right, they're just trying to intimidate them in order to give them a better chance of getting them out. So that's the reason we're doing it. We're not trying to actually hit them on the head in order to put them in hospital. Boxing in general, and this is what I was saying about the rules, so boxing is a sport where you must hurt the other person in order to win. So the reason why you're trying to hurt the other person is in order to win the fight. That's what you have to do. You either have to knock them out, or you have to hit them enough times with enough quality to win the fight on points. So a boxing fight is all instrumental aggression. Again, you're not trying to actually hurt them really badly, as would be hostile. You're just trying to hit them enough times or hard enough once to knock them out in order to win the fight. In rugby, not so much now, but the old tactic would be, in order to give us a better chance of winning the fight, our team, let's go and smash the fly half, the playmaker in the first 5 minutes. All right, and really put a rough tackle in. Again, in football, fullbacks used to be able to do this with wingers, tricky wingers, go and kick them on the halfway line in the first minute. All right, because you could get away with that. Now you can't really get away with such tackles, so it's less a part of the game. But that kind of thing would be a good example of instrumental aggression, where you're not just going to win the tackle, but you're also going to make sure you follow through and try to hurt your opponent as well, which would give you a better chance as a defender in order to get the better of them and therefore win the game. And also we can have psychological examples. So a cricket bowler or fielders would quite often, it's commonplace in cricket, is that they sledge the batsman. So chirp away at them, talk to them, try to put them off, try to distract them, try to get in their head psychologically, and again make them lose concentration, which gives you a better chance of getting them out. So assertiveness, and assertiveness is different to aggression. So now this is where there may be physical force involved, there's a lot of effort and energy going into this act, but there is no intent to harm now. So this is not aggression. So this is the difference. No intent to harm is assertiveness, whereas if there is intent to harm the other person, that would be aggression. So lots of examples in sport where we're just playing hard but fair. So the basketball players here are just trying their best, being physical, being tough, trying to win that ball from the rebound, but they're not actually trying to hurt each other. So any injury that did occur as part of this would be totally accidental. That's the difference with assertiveness. And the last type of aggression is channeled. So channeled aggression is where you divert your aggressive thoughts or feelings into more useful actions. So this might be that you try to, you instead of actually reacting and maybe retaliating, for example, that you try to work harder. So you divert that aggressive energy into concentrating better, into pushing yourself harder, being more assertive within the match, trying your absolute best in order to win it, and putting that energy into those things rather than into being aggressive, which might be a bad thing. You might get sent off, for example.